tell me the story about you connecting with Dizzy Gillespie and how all of that came about.
I met him in Stratford, Ontario, for a big jazz festival in the summertime. And he was one of the guest artists, and I was in the house band. And everybody was all excited and sort of nervous to meet him.
Sure.
And I remember sitting behind the drums, and I see him coming closer, and my heart's pounding. This is like the guy I used to watch on TV all the time. I was in diapers when I was born 1953 when he did that concert at Massey Hall in Toronto.
Wow.
With Charlie Parker and all those guys, and they made that famous album, Jazz at Massey Hall, in 1953. I was just born then.
Yeah.
And this guy was like doing all of it back then. So when I got to meet him, when I was in my 20s, it was awesome. Yeah. I was just like a little kid. I was so excited to meet him. He comes up there and he has a trumpet in his hand and his head down like this, and he's just looking at everybody, and everybody doesn't want to look at him. They don't know what to make of him, you know. And I'm just like, I can't believe it's him. I can't believe it's him. Like, hey, Diz, how's it going? You know. And so as soon as he counted, I think we did Night in Tunisia as a sound check, right? His famous tune. Man, it was like a racehorse for me, just busting out at the gate. As soon as he counted, the tempo started, boom! My energy, I just like, boom, right off the top. He just turned around like, who is this kid? You know.
Great.
So we did our sound check, and then everybody took off, and he went to his dressing room. I went to his dressing room. And I knocked on the door, and then we hung out for a while in the dressing room, and then we went out for dinner.
Wow.
And I never looked back. We became like real tight.
Yeah. So you were pretty bold. You were enamored. This is one of your musical idols, but you were like, you were going to show your stuff as well, and you wanted to connect with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I wasn't afraid to play.
Yeah.
You know, but on a personal note, I'm very sociable. You know, I like mingling and connecting and hanging out and having a good time. That's what it's supposed to be all about. The joy of the music, right?
Exactly.
Not supposed to be so serious. It's so serious, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not saying I wasn't nervous. Of course I was nervous, but
sure.
You know, I got over it. And then over the course of 4 years, like, he laid on so many great stories and taught me so many things. Yeah. Like we were doing one gig one night on a gig, and we were playing, and he kept turning around. Again, turning around, looking at me, and that was fine. It wasn't a heavy, you know.
Yeah.
And then after the gig, you know, go back to our dressing room. A hotel room, and then I went to his room, knocked on his door. I said, "Hey, you want to go out to get a bite to eat or something?" So we went out together. And I said, "Hey, what was those looks you were looking at me?" He goes, "Was I?" I said, "Yeah." Like every once in a while, you turn around, look at me, like, "What was that all about?" "Oh yeah, I got to show you something." He took one of the little placemats that was in the restaurant, these paper placemats, right? Yeah. He flipped it over, and he wrote out the 16-bar phrase. He said, "Buddy Rich laid this on me, man. I'm going to lay it on you. Learn it." You know? So it's 16 bars of these accents. Go, learn it, memorize it. That's what he said to me, right? Wow. So I did. I took him literally. He didn't say anything more than that. Yeah. Learn it, get it into you, right?
Yeah. Wow.
So I did. Like, actually, one thing that Jim Blackley taught me was that it takes 28 days, 30 days to create a new habit, right? Yeah. Yeah. The process of osmosis, right? Yes. Where I called it compounded interest after a while. Like my whole development after that is based on that. Like, you want to learn something new? You take it super slow for 30 days. Every day, make sure you do it every day, though, for that same amount of time, if it's 10, 15 minutes, and you do it for 30 days. And at the end of the 30 days, then you really understand it. Then the next 30 days, you start to get it into your body, right? And after the next 30 days, that's 3 months now, you own that thing. And you don't have to think about it anymore. You don't have to think about, okay, I'm on bar 12 now. What was that? Oh, I got to go back and look at, oh, yeah, bar 10's like this. Yeah. No, you don't even think about it anymore. It's just coming out of you, right? So, and that's from practicing super slow every day, the same time, you know, and then another month and another. So it's 3 months before you actually own that thing, you know. And I've lived by that principle in everything I do, and it really works. I think that's what propelled me to such a high level so quickly, by using that process.
That's great.
And so Dizzy laid this thing onto me, and I just took it in, and then it started to come out. started to come out, and then the funny thing started to happen is like he go "Shoo-ba-doo-da, doo-ga, doo-ga," and I'm going "ga, doo-ga, doo-ga," ba, all the stuff. Then I started to become aware, all the big band writing, all the phrasing, all the singing, all the dancing is based on that 16 bars that he wrote out for me. In that 16 bars, there were all these different combinations that you hear people write in, and the rhythmic punctuations, right, more than anything, which drives the music, and the thing that pushes the beat forward, right? Right. Buddy was so good at just playing on the edge of the time, right? Just right up. He'd start out right away. You're right, right up on the time.
Yeah.
As opposed to like playing down on the time, which tends to be loggy, heavier, right?
Behind
like
the beat.
Yes. I had never heard you play. But I think of it as a whipping thing, like, and dancing. Like when you watch Fred Astaire, it's like before that downbeat comes on his foot, he pushes off with the other foot. So there's actually an upbeat that happens first, then the downbeat. It's the same in this action.
Yeah.
The arm goes up, flicks, then the downbeat comes, right?
Yeah.
The ripple in the water, right?
Yes.
The ripple doesn't happen until there's a force that pushes it first.
Right.
And the force comes up and then pushes down, right?
Right.
And so that's that whole principle, and that whole 16 bars is incorporated into all that. And I just took it in, and then everything just went poof, holy moly.
Wow.
I totally get it.
Fantastic. Right? Yeah. So you toured with Dizzy. Also, any recordings as well, Howie?
Not too many recordings, no.
Okay.
We did some radio recordings, live recordings, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
But a lot of tours, just major mega tours, super shows with different people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was fine with me, you know.
Sure.
That was cool with me. The experience that I got from all that was like so valuable.
Right. One of the masters, right? Dizzy Gillespie. Yeah. How did that, was that when you, it ended after you said 4 years? When you...
In my fourth year, I had this kind of out-of-body experience. So we were coming back from Art Park, going somewhere else. We do a concert there. And we were having dinner on the airplane. And it's like, by then, Dizzy was like 72 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this. It's like I literally thought I was out of my body looking down at us as I'm looking at this. And I'm thinking, wow, Dizzy's 72. He's still on the road, still touring. How come? You know?
Yeah.
And then I went, well, who cares? How come? Like you go out, you tour, you play, you do concerts. That's great. You know, you make a living. You're doing this. You know, so. But he had no family legacy, right? Like he went from one city to another city. Another city, was on the road a lot. Never talked about his wife, to me, anyways. Okay. I know he had a daughter, but he never talked much about it. And had a lot of women. You know, all these women wanted Dizzy. You know, and at that time I had 3 little kids. I thought to myself, wow, this guy has an incredible music legacy that I'll probably never have. Right, because he changed the face of the world with his music, but he has no family legacy, and that made me feel really sad, you know. And I thought, is that where I'm going to be going? Like all these years, and when I'm in my 70s, I'll be alone too, on the road, staying in one hotel room to the next hotel room, and no family legacy. And I thought, no, I don't want that. To me, my family is like the first and foremost. Yeah. Everything comes from that, right? Otherwise, I would have never got married and I would have had kids, because I was perfectly happy being a professional musician. And I know I have friends that are still single, don't have no kids. Yeah. They're perfectly happy living their life, still playing music, you know. But I wasn't wired that way. You know, I come from a big family. I wasn't wired that way, you know. So I decided, I think I'm going to take a break from this and stay at home, find some work in the city so I don't have to travel out of the city, so I could raise my kids. Because I know when I did some work with Oscar Peterson, and he would talk about this subject, his biggest regret, he would say, is, I wish I was a better dad. Yeah. You know, I wish I would have been a better dad. Sure. You know, been there when my kids needed me. Right. But he was like a mega superstar. Right. Everybody wanted him, and he was touring all over the world all the time. That was his life, right? Sure. So, you know, do I regret that? No, because I'm 65 now, and I still have lots of time, and I'm doing it, right? Oh, yes, the world has changed and things, but I like the place I'm at. You know, my kids are growing up. I have grandchildren. You know, my daughter's a professional musician. I'm teaching my little 7-year-old granddaughter how to play the piano, and it's like, it's so enriching. You know, so for me, like when I go to bed at night, I think about how lucky I am to have this great family, right? And I still have all this opportunity to work on my music. That's just how it worked for me. It works differently for everybody, but that's how it worked for me.
Sure.
You know.
And I mean, that's a huge sacrifice. I honor you for that, because I think that's a big deal. It's very difficult I mean, you hear, like you just said, a lot of musicians have some regrets later on. What was that conversation like with Dizzy when you came to that decision of like, I'm going to change this up? What was that conversation with him like?
Well, we went on a big tour. We went to Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, a number of cities, and then we went over to Latin American countries. We did like a 2.5-week tour, and my third child, my son, was born 6 hours after he was born. I was gone. Goodbye on this tour, right? And my heart was tearing, and I was really torn. You know, it was a huge success. Everybody was into it. Everybody was doing their thing, partying, all the stuff, the women, all that kind of stuff. And I went, I'm just not in this space at all. I just left this, like my son at home, who was just born 6 hours ago, and I'm gone for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I didn't see him at all, and I couldn't handle it. It was really messing me up. And so we finished the tour, and we were back on the airplane, and then I remember he got up and he goes, man, it was just so successful, they want us back next year. And everybody's going, yeah. And I stood up and I went, count me out. Like that. And everybody stops. What? You know? And then I had to explain myself. I said, I can't do this anymore. Can't do it anymore. I got a young family at home. I don't want to regret later in life that my son's messed up because I wasn't there for him, or he's mad at me because he doesn't know me and I was never there. I don't want any of that stuff happening. Like, to me, it's so important that I could be the best dad I could possibly be first, and then a musician second. Because I did so much already from the age of 14 up until 31. I did so much already. So I was depressed for about a year after that. Just dealing with the fact that, I'm not going to work tonight. I'm not going to do that session. I couldn't go to any concerts. I couldn't watch any music because it just would tear me apart inside, right?
So you totally got out of music for a while.
I did, except my practicing. My practicing would ground me. It would center me. And as long as I felt, as long as I'm getting better all the time and I'm growing, and my bar keeps raising, I could live with that for now. You know, and that was my peace. You know, I was still restless. You know, but now I'm come back into it. The world has changed. It's totally different. So I have to reinvent myself. But I am doing that.